Good evening. Welcome to Is Anybody Watching? I'm not 100% sure how it works. So if someone wants to make a comment or let me know, say something. If anybody's logged into it and you have my telephone number, do me a favor, just send me a text, my phone or buzz, and it'll just let me know that people are watching because we're not sure. Obviously, IT and me doesn't go together very well. Let's have a look. So, no worries. So, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. Oh, hold on. The numbers are changing. So, at the moment, I'm guessing that there is somebody watching. The number's just gone up on the little man on the left hand side. I'm guessing that's an indication. Oh, they've gone back out again. So, let's have a look. So, thanks for the message. So you're on, so I can see at the moment it's saying we have someone watching. Hi. Is that happy enough for you? Let's have a look. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, see if anybody else turns up, and then we're going to make a start. We're only 2 minutes in, and I did mess it up a little bit earlier on because we started testing it. I thought I was just testing, and I wasn't. It went live, so we had to cancel that. Let me just adjust that a little bit. There we go. That's it. A little bit better. And we have more people coming in. So would someone like to just do me a favor and make a comment if you can, if it's going to allow you to make a comment, just to see whether I can see it or I can't. I'm not going to be reading all the comments until later on and discussing stuff that way, but it would be good if a comment appeared and I know where they're going to appear and what they're going to do. And there we go. Hello, Kerry. Thank you very much. Let's see. So it is going to be recorded, so we don't have to wait for everybody to turn up because some people will be busy and whatever. And the idea is that you can watch it later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a little bit of a recap. So my outlook on dog training is dogs are dogs, problems are problems. We need to respect the dog for what it is, and then we teach the dog to respect us for what we want. So everything that I do is based around, so this webinar, seminar, whatever you want to call it, was titled Everything Has a Price. Now, my dogs and myself live in a world where everything has a price. And what I try and do is I try and take the dog training back to a state where, for one reason or another, we've lost a little bit of what I think is the main connection between human and canine, which is we rely on each other. Whether you, at this day and age, I think we rely on them a little bit more emotionally, psychologically than we used to. We used to rely on them more for practical reasons. However, we still rely on each other. They rely on us to provide what they need. We rely on them in order to cooperate with us and make our lives easier. So what I try and do is I try and take all the training back to its absolute basic roots, which is everything has a price. Whether that's putting the lead on, whether that's opening a door, For anybody that's already had chance to have a look at the latest Nothings video, there's a clip in the video where I'm opening Atlas's cage, and he's just got up because he's just mentioned his name. But I'm opening Atlas's cage door. He has to pay me to do that. Hello, Wayne. Thank you very much for turning up. Everything has a price. Now, for me, I think the confusion comes in. And what I intend to do is just talk about this everything has the price concept. Once I've finished putting over that, we're then going to flick back through a few of the questions, answer some questions, or I'm going to ask you to ask the questions then. I'm going to have a look at them and we're going to address them as we go through. I do have a list here of what people sent in earlier on, so I can refer to that. So we're going back to this, everything has a price. And anybody that's worked with me, anybody that has anything to do with us, anybody that follows us on Facebook, realize we have a system. We have the Nothings, we have the Tri-Canine, we have the pack mentality, which is the fun food friendship, which we turn into the Nothings over a period of time. But what we try and do is we try and take the relationship of the owner and the dog back to basics. Your dog needs something from you, you need something from your dog. So what you tend to end up with is two types of dog, or I come across two types of dog if we dismiss the badly behaved type of dog. So the type of dog where people aren't having a right lot of problems, we're going to concentrate on that for a little minute. So we have the well-behaved dog and we have the well-trained dog. Now, the well-trained dog is the dog that does what you tell it when you tell it. The well-behaved dog is the dog that knows what you want before you tell it. So if we refer back to the little clip earlier on in the video that we posted in the Nothings of the opening of the crate, Atlas knows that the door doesn't open unless your bum's on the floor. The cage door doesn't open unless your bum's on the floor. The patio door doesn't open unless your bum's on the floor. The gate doesn't open unless your bum's on the floor. So what I'm trying to do is generalize a concept of you have to pay me to get me to do something for you. How you pay me is an agreement between me and you, i.e. the dog. We build that up over time. This is where the concept of everything has a price, and I mean everything has a price. My dogs live in a world where every single thing they want to happen, I've got a price on it. That price could be, they want me to put a lead on them because they want to go for a walk. The price is, you have to be calm. You have to be sat. You have to be focused. Once you've paid me, I will then give you the goods. And the goods are, the lead gets clipped on. We go for a walk. The payment, bum on the floor, calm, focus. So these principles that we go through, everything has a price, are based around the Edward Lee Thorndike. So this is the fella that I base the Nothings, the everything has a price type system around, which basically means the dog, animal, whatever it is. So the dog learns by the effect of its actions. So if the dog lies down and I stick a piece of food in its mouth, it's just learned that lying down is a good idea. If Atlas, for instance, I keep picking on him because he's sat over there and he's behaving at the moment. He's just sat quietly and he's great. So if Atlas puts his bum down, the door opens, cause and effect. So every single time the dog does something, there's a consequence to it. Those consequences, and people can get a little bit bent out of shape when you use the word consequence. However, it is a consequence, but it's a good consequence, or it could be a bad consequence. So Atlas lifts his bum, Bad consequence, I let go of the door. It's not opening. Atlas puts his bum back down. Good consequence, I touch the door and I'm about to open it. So when you are building this, everything as a price, you have to attach it to everything that your dog is doing. Hi, people that are joining at the moment, numbers going up. So when you're attaching this price to everything that your dog wants to happen, you have to be very clear. The one thing you can't do is change the price halfway through. How would you like it if you walked in, ordered something, and by the time it got to the till, they've just stuck another 50% on top? Or they've told you it's no longer for sale. You get into an agreement with the dog. After this, I would advise everybody to watch the Nothings, the video that I posted earlier on today. And it clarifies a little bit of how everything has a price. If you're walking close to me, if you want feeding, you have to be close to me. So what the dog wants is to be fed, touched, played with. I play tug with the ball, I give a pat on the head, and I give some food throughout the video, within the video. So that's my price. That's the payment. So my price, if you want a ball, is be within a certain distance of me. My price, if you want the crate to open, make sure your bum's on the floor. So once you get into this, everything has a price, it becomes very, very simple. So at first, it's a little bit like learning to drive a car. That's the only way I can explain it. That's the way that I always explain it in my head. It's a little bit like driving a car. At first, you sit in the car and you think pedals, steering wheel, mirrors, indicators, this, that, seat belts, everything's going around in your mind and you're having to concentrate on everything that you're doing. Well, that's fair enough, because if you think about it, so does the dog. The dog has to concentrate on everything it's doing. I want this to happen. Oh, I need to put my bum on the floor. I want that to happen. I need to lie down. I want this to happen. Oh, I need to be calm. So within the video that was posted earlier on today, you'll see Atlas, little lad over there. You'll see him. He's just calm. He's sat down. He's watching me, and I'm sat eating. So my price on the food that I have is you need to be calm. You need to be a safe distance from me. You need to be quiet. I have a list of all these things that the dog has to pay me, and then I pay the dog, or I give the dog the item that it's already paid for. The concept of this, or the process of everything has a price, is a basic natural process of learning by effect. But what the dog starts to do by learning by the effect of its behavior is it learns how to pay you on a regular basis. So it learns how to get things on a regular basis. So the whole thing with shuffling and changing and trying to create engagement and focus from your dog is focus and engagement is about a payment system. The dog is focusing and engaging because it gets paid. I am reciprocating because I'm getting paid. The dog is paying me by sitting down, lying down, staying calm. I am paying the dog by throwing a ball, playing tug. All these things are a mutual two-way street. And once you get into that, living like that with your dog, we're not asking, or I'm not asking you to do anything with your dog that 99.9% of people throughout the day are doing. You feed your dog, you play with your dog, you pat your dog on the head, You tell it what a good boy it is. You tell it how much you love it. You tell it this, you tell it that. In the video that I posted about the nothings, you will see me relaxing, cuddling, being friendly towards my dog. Everything that everybody wants within the relationship of having a dog. However, it revolves around the payment system. Just simply getting a pat on the head. Dog has to pay me first to do that. And that's the way I see it. He's paying me to give him things. So when we're talking about this payment system, it's like at the moment, the biggest thing is everybody's trying to create enriching lives for the dog. I get it. And it's something I do on a daily basis. I just think you can get wrapped up in words, enrichment. Every day is enriching for a dog that is problem solving all day long. So if your dog is trying to work out how to get the cage open, it's problem solving. If it's trying to work out how to get you to put your hand in your pocket and give me a piece of food, it's problem solving. If it's trying to work out how to get the toy off the floor, it's problem solving. If it's trying to work out how to get me to give it a piece of my food off my plate, which you see me do in the video, then I don't have a problem with that. People, I get into conversations where they say, oh, shouldn't you do this? Shouldn't you do that? You shouldn't have the dog on the furniture. You shouldn't feed the dog from your plate. Why not? If the dog is behaving in a manner that is suitable for your requirements, and that dog is looking for payment in the manner of being able to sit on the settee, being able to receive something from the plate that you're eating from, why not give it to the dog? It's sat there. It's giving you everything you need. So if little Atlas sits on the floor at the side of me and I'm eating a sandwich and he's not touching me, not barking at me, not nudging me, not coming into contact with me, there's a healthy distance between me and him and the sandwich, so he's not sticking his nose in and trying to pinch it and things like that. Good boy, have a piece. Just there's no different than that than you doing a good job at work and then your boss goes, I'll give you a bonus, mate. So you worked hard. That benefits me. You can have a bonus. My dog works hard, it gets a bonus. That bonus is on top of all the other stuff that it gets. So technically this everything has a price is just me putting a title to an everyday event of you do something for me, I do something for you. Once you get that clear in your head, and I'm not trying to, that isn't a statement of, come on, you got to give your head a shake, you got to, it's just once you start to think like that, the dog always thinks like that. Dogs don't change. Dogs always think about, how am I going to get paid? How am I going to get you to put this? How am I going to get you to do that? We as owners have a tendency to just go, I'm in a rush. Goes on the floor. I'm in a rush. Open the door. He's bouncing around like a loon. Just get hold of him and put the lead on. We're in a rush. Your dog's never in a rush. What it's doing is increasing intensity to make the next thing happen. There's a difference because your dog doesn't know, have a time scale. It doesn't know, I've only got 20 minutes to get this walk done. You do, but the dog doesn't. So all the dog is doing by getting excited, you're rushing around doing things. The dog's getting all excited. You're rushing around because you're in a rush, because you have a time scale to get something done. Your dog's rushing around because it's just getting excited that it needs to try and make this thing happen. Everything has to slow down. Again, and I know I keep saying it, but please go back and watch the video on the nothings. Watch how everything is calm. Everything is slow pace. This is about teaching dogs correct behavior. This is about creating well-behaved dogs, not well-trained dogs. We'll cover well-trained dogs in other videos. Sit down, stay, here, identify the substance, bite the bad guy, search the building, come into heel work. All these things are well-trained dogs. They're not well-behaved. The well-behaved dog is, I walk into a room carrying a sandwich and the dog automatically gives me at least 3 foot of space and puts his bum on the floor. That's a well-behaved dog. You are creating a dog that goes, right, what's the problem? The problem is you've got the sandwich and I haven't. What's the solution? The solution is I give you some space. I put my bum on the floor. What's the outcome? You stick your hand on the plate, give me a piece of food. Job done. That's simple in your dog's mind. Very, very simple. Your dog just keeps going over and over and over that process. What is the problem? What do I need to do? Or what is the solution? How am I going to fix this? What happened once I'd done it? If what happened when I did it, so little Atlas, what happens when you put your bum on the floor? The crate door opens. What happens when you put your bum on the floor? The patio door will open to let you back in after you've had a wee. What happens if I sit at the gate? You'll come and open it. What happens if I walk over to you and drop a ball and just look, wait? You'll pick it up and play tug with me. All these things are the most enriching life you can give your dog, because all day long it's doing exactly what its genes and genetics are telling it to do. Solve the problem, reap the benefits. So that's the idea behind the everything as a price. It's a little bit along the same lines as nothing in life is for free. There's this, there's that. Everybody gives things titles. People like titles. It's about categorizing, but at the end of the day, what it's really about is understanding that when two things are in close proximity, you and your dog, if you're not both working off the same hymn sheet, as they say, things go wrong. So as long as you're clear on what payment you want, and your dog is clear on what payment it has to give and what it's going to earn for doing it, life becomes very simple for both of you. You have a well-behaved dog. Not a well-trained dog. It's a totally different thing. A well-behaved dog. A dog that understands, in this scenario, it's beneficial if I do this. In that scenario, it's beneficial if I do the other. And that way your life is so much easier. You don't have to worry about telling the dog to sit. So when I posted the video, I sent it out to a couple of people before I posted it on Patreon, just people that I bounce things off and sound things out with. And one of the questions that came back was, are you not teaching the dog to beg? Yes, but I'm teaching it to beg in a manner that is suitable for me. Another question was, is the dog not just going to work whenever it wants something? No, because your dog always wants something. Unless little Atlas's eyes are shut, which doesn't happen often, he wants something. Yeah, the wants what's in my pocket. Yeah, the wants what's on the settee. Yeah, the wants what's to get out of the crate. He wants something. We do it all day long. You're walking along going, ooh, I just fancy, I don't know, I just fancy a burger. You've now got to solve that problem. You want a burger. How are you going to get the burger? Most people solve the problem by getting in the car, driving to somewhere that sells burgers, handing some money over, and you get your burger. The dog's no different. Ooh, I want a piece of food. How am I going to get the piece of food? Create some distance. Reduce some distance. Put your bum on the floor. Lie down. Go retrieve the item. Do whatever it is that you think might get you something from me. Everything has a price. Remember that. So Any questions on that so far? Feel free to stick on what I've mentioned so far. Please feel free to stick a question into the side if you want to. If not, I'll do what I usually do and just keep waffling on. We will go to the list that I've got at the side if no one asks any questions. Give it a second. Anybody going to ask? No, that's fine. Fine by me. Whoa, should have got that fly out there. So when we're taking control over things, and we go down this line of everything, everything has a price. Somebody has to be in charge. So if you've got, so let's say you've got, cheers, mate. Let's say you've got a problem such as, we'll take something off the list that I got. Recall. So someone mentioned, it's on the list, so someone's mentioned it, that struggling getting the dog to come back. So if you think about it, with everything as a price, if your dog is working all day long to gain something, here we go. I thought you might ask me something. There's a question on Patreon from someone on the Nala Nothings video. Is she being hand-fed 100% of her meals? Also, was she hand-fed prior to coming to you? Cheers. Okay, so that is on the list. I will jump to that one, just seeing as it's been put on the screen. So, was Nala hand-fed before she came to me? No. She was at 100% now. When she was with me, was she getting 100% hand-fed? Yes, she was. She was on a very similar process to what Atlas is on at the moment. She was reactive towards other, or could be reactive towards other dogs. The owner, one of the owner's statements to me when I picked her up was she can be on her back legs, and I'm sure a lot of people that have got reactive dogs will have experienced this. For whatever reason, the other dog has triggered reactivity in her. She's on her back legs, she's pulling forward, she's reacting. Okay, fair enough. So we can see that. I don't have to visually see what the dog is doing. I'm quite happy for the owner to explain that to me and not have to test it, because what I'm then going to go away is, the first thing I'm going to do is reactivity. The way I see reactivity is, remember the empty vessels. So going again, referring to one of the videos that were put up early on, empty vessel. Now, if your dog's walking around and its mind is not set on you, so I walk around with little boy Atlas at the moment. I'll keep referring to him because, one, he's at the side of me and he jogs my memory, and two, he's the dog I'm doing the most amount of work with at this moment in time. So if I'm walking around with Atlas, I am trying to fill his mind with me. Does he react? Does he respond in a bad way? Well, actually, once or twice he has. He's barked at somebody when he shouldn't have barked at them. He's barked at a dog when he shouldn't have barked at the dog. That shows me that his mind's not quite focused on me. As we've gone along, and the more I do everything as a price, the nothings, all these things combined, his focus is more and more and more and more on me. So going back to the Nala, was Nala on 100% hand-fed? Yes, she was. Bearing in mind that hand feeding is not always one piece at a time, things like that. We're working on a system that fits in relatively around your dog's needs and your needs. So I might have been walking around, and a lot of people say my dog's raw fed. All my dogs. Well, personally, all mine are raw fed. When Nala came to stay with me, she was raw fed. Dogs that come and stay with me, they are raw fed. If they come to me and they're on kibble, we transfer them over to being raw fed. The idea of, because a dog is raw fed, you can't hand feed it because it's messy, it just means you've got to be a little bit more imaginative about how you're going to feed your dog. So it could be something as simple as, I'm walking down the street, I might have a couple of eggs, I might have some sardines, I might have some chopped up heart, kidneys, liver, whatever it is, in a bag, sorting everything out. And what we're trying to do is, it's irrelevant of what I'm feeding. It's irrelevant of what you feed. You can still do everything as a price. So if I'm 100% hand feeding Nala, I'm not looking for scenarios at the beginning. I'm not looking for scenarios. Just 1 second. Okay. So for some reason, I'm getting questions on the screen and I'm getting questions bobbing up on my phone. So I'm assuming that people that can see it on Patreon can ask questions on Patreon, but it's not coming through onto here. So if I don't see it, I apologize, but my phone is lighting up, so I will try and answer those questions. So what we're trying to do is, let me put my phone there, just stick that like that, makes life a little bit easier. So when you're hand feeding, what you're trying not to do, and this is very important, you're not trying to set up training scenarios as such. What you're trying to do is, on a daily basis, your dog is being given choices. Its environment give it choices. There's the squirrel, there's another dog, there's a person. These are choices that the environment and everyday life is throwing at your dog. And the choice is, concentrate on the owner or concentrate on the distraction. So when you're hand feeding, rather than trying to set up training scenarios, it's a 24-hour thing, constantly, over a period of time. Now, it sounds like that it's hard work. It is. But you're expecting your dog to change its behavior. So you have to change your behavior. Remember, it's a two-way street. Everything has a price. Your dog's behavior has a price. Your behavior. Remember the cycle of effect, where your attitude affects your behavior affects your dog's attitude affects its behavior affects your attitude, and it goes round and round and round. So what you're trying to do is, you're trying to change not only your dog's behavior, but your behavior, the way that you see how you interact with your dog. You don't just stick its food on the floor every now and again. So you might chop some stuff up, put it in a pouch, take your dog for a walk. These choices are coming in at your dog all the time. Now, I try, when I do the one-to-one stuff and I'm walking along with people, what I'm trying to incorporate into the scenario is telling people that, listen, don't wait for something to distract your dog. Keep rewarding everything your dog is doing that is beneficial to you. And here comes the rain. Is beneficial to you. So even if there's no distractions and your dog's happily walking along and it looks in your direction, good dog, piece of food. So that what you're doing is, if you understand the process of stacking is a process where one event leads to another event and the pressure builds, or it can work the other way. People think stacking is all about the dog getting more and more pressure or more and more stimulated. Well, it can go the other way. Stacking can be less and less focused, less and less engaged. It's just one thing to another leads to an event that is happening. So if you're walking along and your dog's going, have you seen this, mate? I'm paying attention to you. And you're thinking, yeah, but there's nothing to get your attention. So you're not really working hard. Who cares? It's working. And when it's working, you're building behaviors. Remember the getting in the car? The only time you put your foot on the brake was when someone stepped out in front of you. Maybe if someone did step out in front of you, you'd forget to put the foot on the brake. You're using it constantly. You're reducing the car's speed. So you're using the nothings and everything as a price constantly with your dog. You could be walking across a field with absolutely no distractions. And the dog goes, yes, I love that. You've taught it something. Your behavior created this response from me. Now, when you eventually put that dog in a scenario where there are distractions, it understands the behavior that gets it something because it learned it under a low stimulus scenario. So was Nala 100% hand fed? Most definitely. She was raw fed. She was 100% hand fed in every scenario. So the few videos that you saw of Nala, I do apologize. We meant to make a lot more videos, but things didn't quite go to plan. But the videos that you saw of Nala when we was explaining neutral environments, things like that. So we have the positive environment, neutral environment, and negative environment. The neutral environment is where you do your teaching. There are no distractions, but what you're teaching is a response. So you're teaching a well-behaved dog to respond in a well-behaved way. When the distraction turns up, so like on the video I've just posted where I sit down with my sandwich on the settee and little Atlas lies down, I taught that without any food on my lap. Basically, I would sit down with no distraction on me and wait and see what he did. If at some point out of boredom he lay down, good boy, have a piece of food. If I do that over and over and over again, he thinks every time he sits down, I lie down, he throws me a piece of food. When I now walk in carrying a plate with a sandwich on it, little Atlas doesn't go, whoa, no, you've now got a sandwich on it. What he knows is, you walk in, you sit down. What happens if I do what I've always done, which is lay down or sit? Are you going to do the same thing? Of course I am, mate. So even though I've upped the distraction, little Atlas or the dog, your dog, will understand the process. So we teach everything at low level. So I'm going to go back to the question that's on here about, can you explain how you use the long line? I've got the boys on one in the garden. How can this be progressed? So long lines of any sort are for one reason and one reason only. They are a control measure. They're not a training tool. They are simply a control measure. They are designed to stop the dog leaving or getting itself. So if you have two dogs that may fall out if they come into contact, the long line is designed to stop the contact happening. It's not designed to give you the responses, to pull them back in, to correct the dog. If you tap the dog on the line, that tap on the line becomes part of the process. That part of the process becomes part of the command. When you take that line off, you've just lost 50% of your command. Tap, look at me. You take the line off, there's no tap. That's half the command missing. So you teach the dog away from it. The long line is purely a safety measure. It's a little bit like having a trapeze with the net underneath. The net doesn't teach the trapeze how to fly through, how to grip, how to do this, how to do that. It's simply there. If they make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. They're only going to fall as far as the net. If the dog makes a mistake, it can only travel the length of the line. It's simply a safety measure. So moving forward, seen people use food as a bribe rather than wages. Okay, Wayne, so you're right. And going back to the using the line, you're right. Using a bribery, using safety measures, both incorrectly, can cause you a lot of problems. This is where we go on about everything in life has a price. And this is why I talk about it within that title, everything has a price. What I'm trying to do is, if we take the scenario of dogs on long lines, and we take the scenario of people using food as bribery rather than wages. Wages is a really good way of putting it. So there's bribery and there's reward, but wages, people understand when you start to talk about wages. You understand about money, about making money. Your dog makes money in the form of food. You indirectly make food by making money. You can buy food. Dog can't make money. It makes the food direct. But it's a good way of thinking about it in wages. So as a general rule, if we think about it like that way, about rather than bribery, we're using it as a wage, you always get your wage after you've done the job. So you go to work for a week, you get paid at the end of the week. You go to work for a day, you get paid at the end of the day. You do a specific job, you get done after you've done that job. The person that has asked you to do the job doesn't stand in front of you waving the wage packet about. They don't stand in front of you waving £50 note at you. They simply ask you to do a job and you do it. Now, we can't always ask the dog to do various things, because if we're talking about being calm, if we're talking about not being aggressive, if we're talking about focusing on us, absolutely bouncing it down outside, then what we're doing is we're catching moments within the dog's day where it's doing something that we can reward. And then, if it gets any louder in here, I hope you can hear me, then you can develop or shape that behavior into something else. There's a difference between shaping and luring. Luring is bribery in my books. Shaping is paying, because you wait for the behavior and then you catch it and then you shape it by rewarding it. Everybody knows the basic principles of training. If something good happens to the dog after it performs a behavior, that dog is more likely to do that behavior again. Where the confusion comes in is we tend to see things as training scenarios. So we don't see training with food as a bribery. We see it as reward for desired behavior. It is a reward for desired behavior, as long as you didn't use the food to get the behavior. The food comes after. So again, referring back to the video that I posted earlier on today, I've no food in my hand when I'm doing anything. I've no ball in my hand when I'm doing anything. I'm simply waiting for a behavior to happen, and then I will take the ball out from somewhere, or then I will produce some food from somewhere. And this is also down to this thing of don't always have your hand in your pocket, or don't always have the hand in the food pouch. Simply just by lifting your shoulder and putting your hand back can trigger the dog to do a behavior. You've already gone for the food. Try and be as neutral as possible. Then anything that the dog does after that, you are rewarding it, not bribing it. So, so on a daily basis, if everything has a price, and this is what tonight's more or less about, because we're going to start putting videos up that we will have homework within the video. So we'll show a video, and then we will break that video down into parts, and the homework will be, can you get your dog to do this part of it? Can you get your dog to do that part of it? The faster your dog understands that every single thing throughout the day has a price, but as long as it pays that price, it gains that outlook or that reward or that scenario, then when you're trying to train something, you have... So there's the old saying, isn't there? A captive audience. Your dog is a captive audience. Without a shadow of a doubt is your dog a captive audience. If you're sensible about where you do the training. If you're sensible about how you do the management prior to it. So teach in low-level distraction, teach in low-level stimulus. I see people trying to teach a dog a new behavior with loads of excitement. So they're bouncing around and they're messing about with food and they're messing around with toys and the dog's getting, yeah, but it can't focus. And it looks engaged because it's moving around the person. It's not engaged. What it's doing is erratic behavior. Slow things down. Pay the dog for little things as you go along. This mentality of it's a payment system will give calm mindset, clear thinking, strong engagement and regular engagement, and it puts a lot of duration to focus. Nobody has a dog that they need any more than that. Whether you are a sports dog trainer, whether you are working with reactive aggressive dogs, whether you're working with anxious, fearful dogs, whether you're working with pet dogs from pups, rescue dogs from organizations, whatever dog you're working for, your base foundation needs clear thinking from the dog, strong engagement on regular basis, a duration to its focus so that you can teach for periods of time. These things allow you to teach that dog to be a well-behaved dog, and it allows you to teach that dog to be a well-trained dog. Any questions? Any questions so far? My phone's not lit up and the screen's not moved. So I'm assuming you're either thinking about it or we've covered pretty much everything that the people that have logged in wanted to cover. So I'm going to go back to a couple of basic scenarios. So people want to tell you about, how do I fix this? My dog does that. My dog does this. So the first thing that I tell people is, whether you're trying to ask me, how do I get my dog to sit on command at 30 paces? Or how do I stop my dog pulling me down the street trying to kill next door's cat? Or how do I stop my dog growling or barking, lunging at the door? All three things. So there's three different behaviors within the dog, yet there's one solution to them all, which is create engagement, create focus, create a calm state of mind. When I say calm, I more mean clear, because the dog can be excited. So Atlas will get excited, but he's not chaotic. He's not running around like a fool. He's a Dutch herder. Most people, you say, oh, I've got a Dutch herder pup, and they go, why? Well, he's learning to focus. He's learning to engage. He's a bright chap. He's earning a living on a regular basis, minute by minute, day by day, week by week. He earns a living. What that's creating is a dog with, hopefully, much less problems than if I hadn't created that. So I've got someone else that joined us. Anybody else like to ask any questions? Anything specific? Would you like to target something specific? Again, I am looking at the list, and I'm pretty sure that over the last 50 minutes or so, we've covered some. So there was recall, reactivity, jumping up, wanting to go over the nothings. Anybody that wants me to go over the nothings, please, I would advise you that you have a look at the video that I put on today about the nothings. And if you've still any questions about the nothings in general, not within certain behaviours, but in general, then please do send them to me and we will cover them in the next chat that we have. That's if the video's not already cleared those things up. Hi to the people that have just joined. The concept of everything has a price. I'm going to go back to it a little bit because that was the thing I was going to cover, and we talked about it right at the very beginning. It's a science-based process. Everything to do with dog training is science-based. People often say, I get into conversations with people over the phone, they say, is your training science-based? All dog training is science-based. All dog training. Whether you're a yank and crank, whether you're purely positive, whether you're balanced, or whatever name that people give dog trainers these days, because there's a million and one. We all seem to want to title and stick people in boxes. Everything's science-based because it works or it has. Not all stuff is good for the dog, but all stuff works. It's more down to the fact of finding the best way to apply science to dogs training. Dogs are very simple learners, as are we, to be perfectly honest, if we're talking about the everyday things, the practical stuff. You try something. If it works, you try it again. If it works, you put a little bit more effort in and see what happens when the effort goes up. So when the dog sets off after a rabbit and it tucks in behind it and chases it in an arc around the field and the rabbit beats it to the hole, and the next day it does the same thing, it sets off chasing the rabbit and it follows it in an arc around the field and the rabbit beats it to the hole, at some point the dog's going to change its strategy. And as the rabbit sets off, the dog goes, I know where you're going, mate. You're going in that hole over there. So if I go straight across, I'm going to beat you there. I now have a better chance of catching you because you can't get down the hole because I'm already there, which means I get another go at trying to chase you. It's a changing of strategy, and that's where the everything has a price comes in. Let the dog go through its strategies. Let the dog find out the price tag that you've put on something. Let the dog work it out, enrich its life, and give it a task that makes it a well-behaved dog. Let's have a see. Phone's not vibrating and the screen's not moving. So again, I'm assuming no one's in any rush to ask something, or they're working on the theory that when they watch this back, the answer will be in there. So apart from this engagement and focus, when your dog has a specific behavior that you're trying to correct, forget the behavior. Think about how you're going to get the dog to engage with you. That's the main thing. Whether it's charging at the door, whether it's chasing next door's cat, whether it's lunging at other dogs, your first port of call is to instill within your dog everything in life has a price. And once your dog starts to understand that, 70 to 80% of the behavior that most people struggle with will go away naturally, because the dog can't do them if it's focused on the owner. Incompatible behaviors. Everybody goes on about incompatible behaviors. If the dog jumps up, teach it to sit down. So people go a lot, right, how do I teach my dog to sit down? Just reward it every time it's near you and its bum's on the floor. All of a sudden, it doesn't. I can't remember the last time Atlas tried to jump up at me and I didn't encourage him. I do encourage him. I'll pat my chest, I'll mess around and go, oh, come on then. I'll get him all excited and he jumps up at me. But if I don't instigate that, he never runs up and jumps up. He runs up and sits down. Because to him, The most productive behavior within close proximity to me is sitting down. Everything has a price. We might leave it at that. I hope that chat has been helpful. There are going to be videos and homework. I hope everybody's willing to engage in the homework. We're going to start to build what I described right at the very beginning, which is a community where everybody gets involved, everybody's helping, everybody looks at something and go, oh, I'm having the same problem. Is that how it was solved? Brilliant. A little bit of competition as well, because if you see someone teaching their dog something a little bit quicker than you, it gets us into habits. Remember, we're very quick to say, I need to change my dog's behavior. Well, if you come to me and tell me I need to change my dog's behavior, the first thing I'm going to say to you is, we need to change your behavior. Because whatever it is your dog's doing, part of the reason it's doing it is down to your responses to the dog. So we firstly need to change your behavior. As a side effect of that, and a positive side effect, your dog's behavior starts to change. So the first thing that I would like everybody, or hopefully from this video, that is going to happen is everybody's going to have a very clear view on the everything has a price. Remember, if your dog's eyes are open, it's learning. If it's learning, it's looking at the teacher, and you're the teacher. Don't be surprised if you don't take the time to teach the dog if the dog gets it wrong and that behavior starts to settle in. Oh, phones. Thank you very much for that, Roslyn. Yeah, as pointed out, it's a hard pill to swallow when you tell someone you have to change your behavior, because they automatically assume it's just a training issue. Working with dog behavior and training dogs are two different things. You can't be good at either unless you have an understanding of both. You can't be effective at trying to do one unless you understand the other. So the first thing that you need to be, if you're going to want to change your dog's behavior, is understand learning process, how things learn, how dogs learn. You can then teach, but you have to understand that when we talk about everything has a price, that price tag has to be put on everything by you, and the dog has to pay before it receives the goods. And the goods can be picking the lead up off the hook. The goods can be opening the door to go for a walk. The goods can be throwing a ball. For some reason I had a mental block then. Throwing a ball. The amount of people I see throwing a ball while the dog's barking at them and then wonder why the dog is barking at everything. As the teacher, you've taught the dog that how the dog pays to get you to throw how he pays you to get you to throw the ball is bark at you. We use it all the time when you're training a dog in bite work and stuff like that. Get them to bark at the person for the ball. Boom. It's a very easy way to initially stimulate the dog to bark, but it creates a dog that barks to make something happen. So if you become the teacher, what you have to remember as the teacher is everything has a price. And never, ever, ever give your dog the goods unless they've paid for them first. Anybody else want to ask anything? Phone's buzzed. Yep. Cheers. If it's clear, it's clear. That's great. It is a little bit, again, I'm only just getting used to this, and it is a little bit strange talking to myself because all I can see on the screen is me. It's a little bit different than talking to a client that's sat in front of you. You can get some feedback off the face. So we're going to leave it at that. I think we've pretty much covered the concept, not methods, not how-tos. It's more principles. Please simply put a price on everything. Don't give those goods until the goods have been paid for. And the goods are every single thing you do for your dog. Feeding it, walking it, patting it, throwing a ball for it, talking to it, doing this to it, doing that to it. And after we've finished here, please go and have a look at the video that I put on earlier on of the nothings. That combined with what we've just been talking about, I'm sure will make things a whole lot clearer. But have a think about that, and hopefully, as we go through this process, we're going to build a process where everybody ends up with a really nice, well-behaved dog and a well-trained dog. Thanks for logging in. Cheers. See ya.